beautiful complication, impressive history, and an extraordinary movement. All of this can be found in today's 3 vintage classics that I will be taking a closer look at with you. An Omega Cosmic Moonphase from 1947, an Omega Seamaster from 1956 with Olympic roots, and a Longines flyback chronograph that will make any movement fetishist's knee weak. We take a closer look at the history, the design and pricing of these 3 classics. So if you're interested or thinking about adding one of these 3 watches to your collection in the future, this video is yours today. So check out our intro and let's get straight into the topic. So let's start with the stats from a rare and sought after Omega, the Omega Cosmic Moonphase. One of the most nonsensical and at the same time most beautiful complications you can imagine on the wrist. This classic from Omega's mid-20th century factory dates from 1947 with the reference 24711. Has a 3-body stainless steel case with snap-on case back, measures 35 mm without crown, 42 mm from lug to lug, and is 10 mm thick. The hands are moved by the Omega caliber 27 DL-PC. Omega sports watches such as the Speedmaster and Seamaster are perhaps the most known models, but the brand's archives are full of elegant, understated watches, as this Cosmic clearly demonstrates. In the pre-war era, Art Deco styled watches were the norm, but the military watches produced for the European armies during the Second World War changed the taste of men worldwide, and watches like the Cosmic came into fashion. During this time, watches with day, date, month and moonphase display became very popular because it was simply something new that hadn't existed before. Launched in 1947 and produced by Omega until 1956, the Cosmic Collection was the brand's first watch to combine the time and date with a calendar function displaying the date, day of the week, month and moonphase. According to some sources, Omega produced around 50,000 Cosmic Moonphase watches over a course of 9 years. It was available in 3 sizes, 34, 35 and 37.5 mm, and in 4 different case materials as well. There were versions made of steel, with gold filling, with gold cap and solid gold, with 14K or 18 karat gold. And in the 9 years of production, the brand brought out 6 models, 5 in the late 1940s and 1 in the early 1950s. Many people think that the movements in the Omega Cosmic Moonphase watches were in-house movements, but that is not the truth. Omega used externally manufactured movements from Lemania. They therefore supplied the movements that brands such as Omega and Tissot used in their watches. Lemania gained a market, while the watch manufacturers themselves received high-quality movements from one of the largest manufacturers of the time, and at a great price for sure. So it was a win-win situation for everyone. Let's continue with the design. The layout seems to be simple and uncluttered. The Moonphase display is located at the 6 o'clock position. It also serves as a subdial on which the second hand runs over the Moonphase disc. The day and month window are located under the name and logo at 12 o'clock. Beautiful, vibrant colors and shapes characterize the Omega Cosmic Moonphase dials. The indexes are often curved and painted. The date indications have different colors than the indexes and again different colors than the numerals. The hands can be leaf-shaped or alpha-shaped. The hour markers can be baguette or dagger-shaped with smooth or velvet surfaces. While most dials have no luminescent material, in some rare cases you can find one with radium tufted numerals or indexes. For me, the most striking feature of this great vintage watch is the stunning sky of the Moonphase disc. As I mentioned before, I think this complication is absolutely useless. And at the same time, it adds an extraordinary charm and a kind of mysterious presence to any vintage watch. There are 3 small holes on the side of the case. The month can be set via the hole above the crown. The date, which shows the correct number around the edge of the dial with the blue hand, via the lower hole. The left hand can be used to set the moon phase. All you have to do is press a small pin into these holes. So let's move on to the last point, market prices. Surviving Moonphase examples from Patek Philippe or Rolex, for example, are auctioned today for 6-figure sums, while you can get an Omega Cosmic for a fraction of that amount. 50,000 units produced sounds like a lot at first, but unfortunately they are difficult to find in good condition today. There are various reasons for this, but one of the main reasons is that the Cosmic line was not waterproofed. Due to the infiltration of moisture, many dials not survived the test of time. For this reason, they can often be found today on the usual online platforms with newly refurbished dials. Examples in their original condition fetch significantly higher prices, of course. Depending on the material, patinated original Cosmics currently start at around 4,000 euros, while examples in top condition and precious metal can quickly reach 5 figures, such as this Cosmic reference 2485, which we sold last year for 11,900 euros. So you should expect to pay around 7,000 to 8,000 euros for a model in good and original condition. So enough about Moonphases. Let's move on to Longines and a movement that is one of the 3 most famous movements of the 20th century, the caliber 30CH. But let's start with the basics again before we get into the depths. This Longines chronograph saw the light of day in 1967 and has the reference 7414. Has a 3-body 18-karat rosé gold case with snap-on caseback, measures 36 mm without crown, 42 mm from lug to lug, and is 12 mm thick. Under the hood ticks the Longines caliber 30CH. No other brand has produced as many references for its chronographs as Longines, and they were the first manufacturer to produce high precision and high quality chronographs in-house. At the beginning of the 20th century, the chronograph function was only found in pocket watches. And this function had to be built into a wristwatch because back then you only had one hand free when using a pocket watch. But what if you need both hands and a chronograph function? For this reason, Longines launched the 13.33 Z movement in 1913, one of the first chronograph movements ever produced for a wristwatch. But with the rise of airplanes, another problem arose. Imagine a pilot have to fly south for exactly 50 seconds, then east for 20 seconds, and then south again for 30 seconds. You have to press the push buttons 3 times to interrupt the stop, reset the hands, and start a new count, which of course took far too much time for precise flights. So Longines once again had to solve this problem, and in 1936 launched the legendary 30ZM movement, the first chronograph mechanism with a flyback function. And it is considered one of the best chronograph movements ever developed. Yeah, and the Longines 30CH movement was developed in 1947 and is the direct successor to the 13NZ movement with the same functionality, including the flyback mechanism. So let's open the case and look at the movement. Can it really live up to its legendary status? While most chronographs have the balance wheel at 6 o'clock when viewed from the case back, the 30CH has it at 12 o'clock. The entire movement is rhodium plated and has a layout that is highly recognizable, particularly due to the high quality finish and the neat arrangement of the links and levers. Pay attention to the large number of screws too. There is so much work and sophistication in this movement. Overall, it's very robust in all components and so well constructed that it is still current and reliable, like a modern movement. Unfortunately, it is the last in-house chrono caliber. Longines stopped production in the early 70s. Now let's take a closer look at the design of this beauty. Not only was the inner workings of this wristwatch impressive, its external design was also way ahead of its time. In my opinion, Longines produced some of the best looking chronographs back then, and you simply can't go wrong with buying one. During the production period of the 30CH from the late 40s to the mid 70s, Longines offered a wide range of cases and dials. This is another reason why collectors are crazy about this watch. This Longines had a beautiful 18-karat rosé gold case, but was also offered in steel and in 14 and 18-karat yellow gold. The size of the case also changed depending on the reference. Our reference has 37 mm, but it can also be found in 38 and 35 mm. The case retains its original 18-karat rosé gold flat pushers and the beautiful crown signed Longines. The 30CH chronos are very special vintage watches, also because of their wonderful dials. This dial has an iconic layout with a blue tachymeter and red telemeter scale. There are also dials that have only a tachymeter scale or even no scale at all. Original dials are only metallic and have been coated with a transparent color that gives them a deep effect. Our current model looks like it is fresh out of the Longines hallowed halls of the 60s. If it weren't for the corrosion on the 30-minute counter. When you wear the watch on your wrist, you hardly notice it. But yes, you know it there. I think that's also the reason why it still hasn't been sold after 4 weeks in our store. Below the 12-hour mark, the dial features the Longines logo and the famous winged hourglass. The very first 30CH models carried only the Longines logo without the hourglass. All in all, if you collect watches, this is definitely an example to look out for. You can wear this piece sportly in steel, but also on classic occasions in gold. So, what do you have to put on the table for such a great vintage chronograph? The market prices for a caliber 30CH from Longines are at the lower end of 4,000 to 5,000 euros. Well-preserved models are around 6,000 to 9,000 euros, and some special rare reference in top condition can quickly slip into the 5-digit range. So let's move on to the last watch in today's triple, an Omega Seamaster. Nothing special so far, but an Olympic edition from the 1950s with an interesting story behind it. This Omega Olympic was produced in 1956 and has a reference 2850SC. Also has a 3-body 18K yellow gold case with snap-on case back, measures 34 mm without crown, 41 mm from lug to lug, and is 11.5 mm thick. Under the hood beats the Omega caliber 470 automatic. This magnificent piece was launched to commemorate the Summer Games of the 16th Olympiad in Melbourne, Australia in 1956. As you can clearly see from the medal on the case back, it was created to celebrate Omega's 25th anniversary as official timekeeper of the Olympic Games. And in my opinion, it's also interesting that this Seamaster is one of the first Olympic commemorative wristwatches. Early editions were large pocket watches. And there are 2 editions of the Olympic Seamaster. A commercial version, which we have today, and a so-called pre-commercial version. The difference is that only the pre-commercial version has the cross of merit on the dial. Our current version has the Roman numerals XVI on the dial. But why 2 versions? It has often been speculated that Omega changed the versions and stopped using the cross of merit on the dial because they didn't have the right to use it for marketing. But both versions have the logo on the case back. So this explanation seems unlikely, but we will never know the truth. Most prefer this watch as pre-commercial because it was never offered for sale, and it is rumored that it was given away to executives, celebrities and athletes. Our commercial version was for sale after the Olympic Games. When I look at this beauty, I have the feeling that Omega has paid attention to every detail. The Seamasters from the 1950s have a very elegant, classic and timeless design. They were intended for every occasion. A dress watch at its best. The case is made of 18 karat gold and has angular lugs that hold it firmly on the wrist. The beautiful creamy brown two-tone dial is in original condition and is an absolute eye-catcher. And above the fixed clock position is the Seamaster imprint and the 18 karat XVI letters. The dial is richly decorated with the solid gold Omega logo and the golden Dauphine hands. Then look at the coffin styled indexes, also in solid gold. They give the dial a very high-end look and a certain depth. And the way they refract the light is incredible. In general, it's very impressive how the watch plays with the light. From the flat tips of the lugs to the slightly raised and pointed hands to the six-sided crown. Let's talk about prices here. The historical reference and the special design of the hour markers and the cross of merit on the caseback make the market prices a bit higher than the average prices of a normal 18 karat Seamaster of the time. In addition, of course, there is a smaller edition, which means that they are no longer offered too often on today's market. The prices start at around 3,000 euros for the worst conditions, although you can quickly end up to at 6,000 euros for a full set with original box and papers. So that's it again for today. I hope you enjoyed these 3 vintage classics as much as I did. Have a nice day and hope to see you again in our next video.